The Supreme Court agreed on Monday to hear a defense by President Donald Trump's administration of the government's authority to limit the processing of asylum claims at ports of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border. And this is on Newsmax. Supreme Court to review government's asylum power. The Supreme Court agreed on Monday to hear a defense by President Donald Trump's administration of the government's authority to limit the processing of asylum claims at ports of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border. The court took up the administration's appeal of a lower court's determination that the metering policy, under which U.S. immigration officials could stop asylum seekers at the border and decline to process their claims, violated federal law. The policy was rescinded by former President Joe Biden, but Trump's administration has indicated it would consider resuming it. The Supreme Court is expected to hear the case and issue a ruling by the end of June, so it's going to take a while. The metering policy is separate from the sweeping ban on asylum at the southern border that Trump issued after returning to the presidency on January 20th. That policy also faces a legal challenge. Under U.S. law, a migrant who arrives in the U.S. may apply for asylum and must be inspected by a federal immigration official. The legal issue in the case is whether asylum seekers who are stopped on the Mexican side of the border have arrived in America. Well, plus, it's been my understanding that if someone is trying to seek asylum in the U.S., that first they must prove that they have sought asylum in the nearest country bordering their country that is not war-torn or isn't religiously persecuting that individual or what have you, that they can't just skip over a bunch of countries and just arrive in America and claim asylum, that they have to go to the nearest country of peace first. And if they're denied asylum there, then they might be able to take the step to apply for asylum in the U.S. At least that's my understanding of it. U.S. immigration officials began turning away asylum seekers at the border in 2016 under former President Barack Obama amid a migrant surge. The metering policy was formalized in 2018 during Trump's first term, with border officials permitted to decline processing asylum claims when ports of entry were at capacity. Biden rescinded the policy in 2021. Of course they did. Trump's administration has repeatedly asked the Supreme Court to let it proceed with policies that lower courts have impeded after casting doubt on their legality. The court in interim rulings has backed Trump in most of these cases. For instance, it has let Trump deport migrants to countries other than their own without offering a chance to show harm they may face and to revoke temporary legal status previously granted by the government on humanitarian grounds to hundreds of thousands of migrants. Could you imagine if the Supreme Court was majority liberal, that every single illegal that poured into our country during the Biden administration, not a single one probably would have been deported? I doubt any of them would have been. And the criminals that committed crimes in the U.S., yeah, they would probably go to prison, but maybe even not. They'd be given no cash bail. They probably wouldn't even go to prison. They just keep committing crimes over and over again. And if they were to go to prison, they would get out and then they would just continue to do whatever it is that they want to do right here in the U.S.
If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Check out The Swamp, Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, with segments dropping on the daily. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.